Alright, hey everyone, AG51 Goose here, and in this video what we're going to do is taxing. It's going to be about taxing. I am in the P47, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through what most people do usually when they first come to props, and you know, I'm also guilty of doing this as well too. So basically the first time around I'm just going to do stuff wrong. So we're in our airplane here. We got her up and running. I got everything set. We're ready to go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and start taxiing. Right, and of course you have no rudder, so you have to use your brake to turn. Alright, so I was going to pretend here we're going to turn out to the, we want to turn out to the runway here. This little piece, little strip there, and you're, oh Jesus, what the, you know, you go, okay, fine, that pisses you off. It probably does that to you numerous of times, so you get mad about it. So what do? Lock that tail wheel. Okay, so now with the tail wheel lock, you give her some juice, get yourself going. Just let myself get out of there. Alright, now I'll give her some opposite brake. Huh. Okay, there we go. Tail wheel finally locked. Now if you want to turn, you use your brake and like, oh wow. So then you gotta really give her some juice to get her to turn, right? And like most of us, we first come to props, we're guilty of doing this. Right, so and generally what happens when you have the tail wheel, oh come on, generally what happens when you have the tail wheel unlocked, you know, when most people turn, because you gotta, like you say, use your brake because you got no rudder. Yeah, so you kind of end up doing these crazy turns. You know, you end up zigzagging all over the place. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is jump in another plane, and we'll go over the proper way of doing it. Alright, so we just got this plane started. Of course, we're in a new P47, or yeah, P47. Set the brakes here. Alright, so before you can when the motor's cold, you can't go over 1,000 RPMs or you'll cook it. Alright, so generally you let it warm up around 800-900 RPM. We're doing a warm up. You can't go over 1,000 RPM until your oil pressure here hits 40 Celsius, which is this tick right here, right beside the red there. Alright, and your cylinder head has to be at 100. Cylinder head temperature in the ground is normal is 150, and the cylinder head temperature in the air normal is 200. Alright, but this is going to be about taxiing, not really how to keep your engines from overheating. Alright, so now you get your plane, it's all set up and stuff, right? And you're sitting, you're going, Jesus man, it's going to take forever for this thing to warm up. And it does, it takes it quite some time to warm up. Okay, but however, you can still taxi and keeping your RPMs under 1,000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it up to 900 here, my RPM, right, and take the park brake off and just give her a couple minutes, and see there, she's starting to roll already on her own. Right now, we don't want to lock the tail with, so what we do to get it turned, we just feather, just apply a little bit of brake, and now it'll sit there and turn. And when you don't want it to turn anymore, apply a little bit of the opposite brake. and as you can see, it'll stop. Right? So rather than using full brake to try and get it turned, just give it a little bit of brake and then let it off, and as you can see, it turns really nice. You know, I could increase it more if I wanted to, but I don't. And then I'm just gonna little opposite brake to get it straightened out. That's all you need. And I'm only moving my brake pedal, or my brake pedals. I'm only moving them probably about half an inch, if that. You know, quarter of an inch. It doesn't take much. And as you can see, at 900 RPMs, you can taxi out to the strip. You know, and your engine's warming up as you're going there, and you're not going to cook it on the ground because you're not over revving it trying to get it to turn if you lock the tail wheel. Up until about a week ago, I used to lock that tail wheel because I hated zigzagging all over the place and had a hard time controlling it. You know, I'd lock it and then rev the hell out of the motor, and then as I'm taking off, sometimes the motor would cook because the cylinder head gets too hot. And without it being in the air and actually flying, if you're sitting on the ground and you overheat your cylinder head, you're pretty much hooped. It's you don't have enough airflow going over the motor to cool it off. So this is really the best way to taxi these things. You know, and like I said, while you're taxiing out here, your plane is warming up. I'm gonna go ahead and hop out of this plane and get into a 51. All right, so we're over here in the P51, and I just got her started. You know, basically set up. I don't need weapons or nothing, so I'm basically ready to go. But the P51, same thing as 47. You can't rev it over 1,000 RPMs before your temperature here is 40 Celsius. So, right, which is at your 40 there. You can't go over 1,000 RPMs. You know, but again, it's the same as the 47. You can actually taxi it, you know, same way without over revving it. All right, so one of the neat things with the, well, maybe not so neat, but with the P51, you do have a bit, as you can see, the wheel does move a little bit with the rudder pedals. So you do get a little bit of steering on the ground with this one, so that, you know, makes it a lot easier for steering. The tail wheel is actually in the lock position when the stick is in the neutral position, or when the stick is pulled back. That's in the lock position. All right. So to unlock it, you push the stick forward, and that's what we're going to do here. Is we're going to unlock that tail wheel. All right. And the other thing with the P51, though, is that you bring her up. It's the same thing. You warm it up, usually around 800 RPM, but you don't really want to go over the 1,000 now. When you get her to the 1,000, as you can see, she doesn't want to move. But, you know, it's not like the 47. Oh, okay. She may start going a bit. So if you want, it's okay. You can bring her up a little bit. Once she starts moving, then just bring her back to your 1,000 RPM, all right? Or 900 or whatever. Once it's moving, it'll stay moving, right? And again, it's the same thing with your brake pedal, right? Just a little bit feathered there, a little bit on the right, a little more on the right. There you go. And she'll taxi out. And as she's rolling along here, it will actually start getting a little faster and faster. And you got to be kind of careful because when you start getting to go faster, when you slow down, it tends to swing really sharp on you if you're in a turn. Alright, so I still got the tail wheel unlocked here, but now I'm going to put the stick in neutral position and I'm going to use my rudder. And as you can see, we can use the rudder to steer with it as well. You don't get that option with the 47. You have to use the brakes to steer with it. And you can see how it's getting faster there on me. It's picking up. So now I'm going to use a little bit of brake to get her over here. And of course I kind of screwed that up, but you know, again, it's just like everything else, right? The more you practice it, the better you get at it. Right. And again, All right, and there we are out on the strip. Of course, you'd have to line yourself up better. And as you can see, you know, our temperatures were still way too low, and the oil pressure is still way too high, right? So we're gonna have to sit out here in the strip for a bit to let this warm up some. But that's the thing, you know, like you say, if you know, a lot of times you hear it, you don't see it, that you hear this. You hear guys doing this while they're taxiing, right? That's because they got the tail wheel locked and they're slamming their brakes on. And when you're on the ground and you do this, it doesn't take long for things to start getting hot. And like I said, when you're on the ground, when things start getting too hot, you need air flowing over the motor. And the 51, you need more air flowing through that rad in order to get it to cool down. You know, so if your engine is overheating when you're on the ground, pretty much the only option you have is shutting it off and letting it cool down. You know, I've gone down the strip and had my motor making that sound and she's about ready to quit. You're like, uh-oh. But got in the air and was able to get the stuff to cool off. But anyways, that's all there is to taxiing. Very simple. You know, give her a try, practice it, and you'll see it's, you know, it works out really well for you. Alright, so I'm just going to say goose out for now, and we'll see you guys in another video.